This is a Mr. G production. Whoosh. Hey everybody, it's Mr. G. I can't believe where we're teaching from. I'm home, you're home. I'm recording this lesson that you can go back and review and go over different things along with other lessons that will come up in the future. We're focusing on Henri Matisse. Henri Matisse was an artist that was born in the late 1800s. Famous artist in his era. He was originally a lawyer. If you read the bio that I have in the assignment as well as the videos, you'll get an idea of the different works he's created. Famous artist, painter, creator, and he ended up in a wheelchair after a surgery in 1941, and instead of giving up his art, he did what we would do now. We're not giving up, we're doing what we got to do. So he figured, okay, let me try something new. Decided he's gonna use paper as his medium. Paper's interesting because you can paint it, there's different forms of paper, you can get paper. Even if you don't have paper like we have in the art room, you have paper bags at home, I'm sure, like brown paper bags. You can use even loose leaf paper, regular paper from a notebook, and you can even use magic markers and color them to make it the color. In fact, I used crayons to make this color on this page here, and it was simply a matter of just coloring the paper the color I wanted it, and then using that and cutting my shapes out. The assortment of shapes are here, and I'm going to focus right now more on composition and cutting and connecting them together using, if you have tape, different forms of tape, great. If you have a glue stick, that would be more ideal, but listen, we do what we got to do this time, so we'll make it work. And we're going to move forward from there. And his biggest focus on his paper art was his use of color and very bold colors. He came out of the Fauvist movement in late 1900s with very bold colors. Fauvist translates literally into wild beasts. So very bold colors, very bold shapes, and he was very famous for it, the first of his kind. So let's begin by just taking a blank sheet of paper. It doesn't matter what color it is. I prefer white to start with just because it's easy to see for the video, but you can use whatever you want. And we're going to take shapes right here that I've already cut, and I'm going to arrange them. Now, just alone, we start creating something called a composition. A composition is an arrangement of shapes into a pleasing layout, so it feels good to look at. You have to think about all the elements that go into it. You know, when someone's looking at it, what are they focused on? What do you want them to focus on as the artist? And arranging objects, just to come up with something pretty and pleasing to the eye. Now, you can create layers of papers after you glue them down, like I did this spiral, which I'll go over later on how to make it. But basically, I attached this spiral to a yellow piece of paper and then gluing this down to another paper. So it creates another layer. When you're cutting, keep in mind, no matter, even if you're using a kid scissor, which by the way I used for this entire project, you have to still be careful. You always cut away from your fingers. You never want to cut towards your hand. So you never want to move the scissor towards your body, always away. So when cutting, you have the paper in front of you, and you're going to basically start cutting. And Matisse focused on imagery that came to him from his past. He used to, from islands he had visited. So a lot of his things were very organic, very underwater, seaweedy looking kind of things, similar to the paper, or actually the clay project we just did in class, where things are very organic. Organic is different from mechanical. Mechanical are shapes that are very geometric and have hard edges. These are very soft edged. And of course, there's no limitations because even Matisse did use some soft edge and hard edge shapes together. And again, if you look at the images that I created in the reference images, you'll see that for yourself. And of course, attaching. When attaching a piece of paper to another paper, there's no need to use a ton of glue. I like to use another piece of paper as my mat, just to keep the table clean. From the back, flip your image over, or excuse me, the shape over, a little bit of glue. Remember, some people are going to be using tape for this. This is not to last forever. In fact, even if you don't have tape or any adhesive, it doesn't matter. Treat it like a puzzle, because that's exactly what Matisse did. He treated it like a jigsaw puzzle that was basically, he was solving as he was building his compositions in a very pleasing way to himself. And of course, others loved his style of art, very unique style. Again, please refer to the images that I put in the the reference images to his artwork so you get an idea more about his specific work. Some of his work isn't very advanced. It seems very primal. He would take even just simple shapes and create arrangements of them in ways that he liked. Remember, you're the artist. It's not what everyone else likes. It's what you like. It's what feels right. And he created one of the images, I'm not recalling the name right now. I think, the snail, where it's very, very simple. A bunch of basic shapes arranged into this image that eventually sold for multi-million-dollar. So yeah, cut paper projects can be worth something to somebody someday. I even took a package, I don't even remember what this is from. It's one of the things I picked up at the store, and it's kind of cardboardy, but it has this cool pattern here. And if I wanted to, I can use that as well. And arranging them the right way is really the key here. There's different things, different kinds of shapes. There's positive shapes, which are the shapes themselves. The negative shape is the shapes between the shapes that gets created. So if you were to squint your eyes, you can kind of see that negative shape really well. I'm going to take this. I could even take this. I could take these two. I could glue them down, then cut this out and treat this like a separate element the same way I did things like this. Other shapes and way to arrange things. I'm going to flip this over just for now so we have a clean place to work with. I made a spiral, and I'm going to go over that in another video that'll be after this one, and how to create these just all standalone by themselves video on spirals. And when arranged, you can really do some interesting things with spirals because there's a lot of movement inside of them, and movement is what creates that feeling of energy and things that are moving in a direction, like Vincent van Gogh did with his Starry Night. Shapes that I built, pre-built. Basically, I arranged onto this paper and I put this down here. So if I wanted to, I could literally start figuring out my composition for this piece of artwork. I'm not going to take it to the glue phase right now because I want to cover more of arranging. And I'm going to sit there until I feel I have a nice, interesting looking thing here. I say to myself, okay, there's something else I'm missing here. Maybe I just need part of something. Maybe I don't need this entire design here. I could simply take part of it, attach it to my paper like this, and then later cut the rest off. I created this earlier. I'm not sure if it's clear to you, but it has a human form. It has a lot of energy, a lot of with the feelings I have now going on. I guess every one of us has a lot of feelings now with this being at home and not understanding exactly what's happening. So it's a good way to express yourself is with paper. And again, these edges that are all loose, I can cut off later. Or I could take this and glue this on to another paper, if I had a bigger paper, which I'm going to use in another artwork, and glue this onto that and simply, literally leave it. And even the rough edges, leave them there. If you look close at Henri Matisse's artwork, his paper itself has holes punched in them from pins that he used to ask people to arrange for him on the wall when he was in a wheelchair because he couldn't do it himself. And they would pin them up so many times they'd have holes in them. And the artwork that's worth tons of money has a bunch of holes in them, and it's really interesting to see them in person. Again, a piece of loose leaf paper makes a wonderful material as well because you can color it and use it, and again, it doesn't really matter. Again, cutting, organic shapes, geometric shapes, you cut what you want to cut. This is your world, but remember, always cut away from you. Always coming away from you. And if I cut, let's say, something like this, I could take this piece simply, and guess what? It's not magic, it's just art. I could take this piece that I just cut, because I cut 2 layers, connect them together, and have another piece. And then use this element on something else. I could even use the pieces of paper where the holes came out from as well. And I could glue this down to, let's say, the paper here, then attach this one to here, and now I got this really cool reflection looking shape here that I could then cut out the whole piece and use that. There's really no limitations to what you could do and how to arrange this. Think of it as a puzzle. It's that you could rearrange into your heart's content with the pieces that you create yourself. Taking pieces that I cut at the same time, overlapping them, I could just as easily rearrange these in a cool way. Technical difficulties with paper. They will fight with you sometimes. And arrange them into a pleasing design. Like this could be the beginning of it, and then I can create something that goes up the middle. What I want right now, I might not even have yet. I might need to make something. Right now, I'm thinking this might work, might not work, but that's okay because again, I have other paper. If I don't, I have white paper I can color. And Matisse is known for this. He was a paper artist, and he painted with scissors. Scissors were his tool. But let's say, for example, you don't have scissors. Let's say you're in a home, there's no scissors, you had them, you can't find them. Doesn't matter. I could take a piece of paper and I could simply cut shapes with my fingers. This is tearing. It's another skill. We worked on some of this year as well. And I could make interesting shapes with this. There's no, rule that says you have to use a scissor. The idea is using paper as your medium of choice. So I created this candy cane looking funny thing, but I could use that in some fashion if I wanted to. Maybe not on this piece. Maybe I would start a new piece that would utilize reflection. I can glue this piece down to the paper just simply like that. Attach this maybe like that in some interesting way. And now I've got the beginnings of another element I can use. So by no means are you limited to what I'm showing you. I want you to go through the lesson. This is a piece of artwork from a student a while ago. They didn't take it, fortunately, I'm able to show you. And these spirals and these pieces actually overlap each other, and that's what you also can do, arranging layers upon layers and intertwining layers. So really is no limit. And if you feel adventurous, go for it. Think outside the box. You're very creative students. I'm always amazed at what you make. Never, ever surprised by your talent, because you guys just keep blowing me away, so I keep setting the expectations really high. This is a piece of paper I used. It was a brown paper bag. I cut this shape out. And you can see the shape here. Again, the negative shape, the positive shape. They fit into each other. But in a nice arrangement, they can really work well together as the beginning of something very interesting. And I'm not sure right now if that's the most interesting layout or beginning of a layout, but it's the beginning of something. So make some art, get things done, relax, and try to do the best you can to focus in this time. I'm doing my best. I'm sure you're doing your best. I'm here for you via the email scenario we have within the Google Classroom, and I'd be happy to and love to see your artwork. I would love the opportunity for you to upload your pictures, your final pictures, to me, and talk about them, or at least look at them, and then when we get back to school, we'll go over everything. Not sure when that is, but it will be hopefully sooner than later. I miss you all. I'm proud of you. I wish this was a different scenario when we were in class teaching in person. But again, this is where we're at, and I'm proud that we're all doing the best we can. And of course, you see, messy, nothing changes. My classroom, my home, I'm an artist. So apologize in advance to your parents for the mess you might make, but it's for a good reason. You're making art in the style of Matisse, a man who had limitations like we do right now, and he didn't let it stop him like you're not letting it stop you. You take good care, and I'll talk to you soon. There'll be other videos, of course, to follow in other projects. There'll be another video on cutting soon, like today, on cutting spirals and these kinds of shapes to understand how to do it, so you won't get frustrated. Miss you all again, and I'll check with you later. Miss you. Bye, foxes.